Hey everybody, welcome to a brand new edition of Can Do Entertainment Presents May the Force Be With Who. Alright, I just got out of Kong Skull Island, the latest monster movie that's going to be tied in with all these shared universe monster movies. It's tied into Gareth Edwards' 2014 movie Godzilla, as well as the upcoming Godzilla King of All Monsters, which is basically leading into Kong versus Godzilla at some point. And basically got to say, I got to give the movie a positive review. It's not going to win any awards for acting, but it's an enjoyable flick. It's an enjoyable popcorn movie. It's Kong's movie. Now, we've got an impressive cast in this movie. We've got Tom Hiddleston, who plays Conrad. He's a former SAS agent. He's basically a tracker. And basically in this film, it's like padding his resume for trying to audition to be the next James Bond. But he's serviceable. He's good in the action role. We've got Brie Larson, who plays a photographer Mason, and she's really kind of one note, but there's not a whole lot of character development in this film, so she's just kind of there to, not really move the plot along. She's just there to be the female protagonist in the film. Samuel L. Jackson, who plays Colonel Packard, who is in charge of the military aspect of this operation, and it's basically his character is a kind of not wanting to let go of the war. This movie's set in 1973, and his unit is basically on its way home before they get pulled into escorting this expedition to Skull Island. And 1973 is when this film set in, which is a great year because I was born in 73. But Sam is Colonel Packard. He's leading his unit. He's not really ready to let go of the war. And when they come across Kong, which I'm sure if you've seen in the trailers, Kong obliterates his unit. It kind of gives Sam some okay, now it's going to be Sam Jackson versus King Kong. John Goodman is in the film. He is the head of the he's part of the scientific exploration. He's the one that knows that there's monsters on the island and doesn't tell anybody. John C. Reilly is also in this. He plays a World War II pilot who gets shot down and has been on the island for 28 years. And they do a real good part at the beginning of the film showing how he ends up being on the island. And he's actually one of the few standouts in the film. I was afraid that, his character, by seeing what he was in the trailers, I was afraid it was going to be really kind of kind of cartoonish and jokey, but he really turned out to be one of the standouts, along with 24's Corey Hawkins, who plays Brooks, another one of the scientific expedition members. He was one of the few standouts. Toby Kebbell is also in this film. Some of you might remember Toby Kebbell from the Planet of the Apes movies. He plays Chapman, as well as he does some motion capture, as well as Kong. But we got to get to it. This film really has a lot more going for it than Godzilla, because one of the big drawbacks about Gareth Edwards' Godzilla was that every time you got to see Godzilla fight, they kind of cut away to news coverage of the fight, or just you didn't get to really see Godzilla in action a lot till the very end. And they do not repeat this mistake in this movie. You get to see Kong, and you get to see Kong kick ass. Now, with the exception of when he's brutalizing the military, which they set that up real good, because when the military comes in on their expedition on behalf of Monarch Corporations, they're dropping these seismic charges to try to prove that the island is hollow, where these creatures have been hiding all this time. It pisses Kong off, and one big pissed off monkey starts smashing the helicopters, which in turn you get one pissed off Sam Jackson who wants to kill one pissed off monkey. So you get pissed off Sam Jackson versus pissed off King Kong, which is kind of the undercard to Kong versus the Skull Walkers, which are these big ugly ass lizards that are in the movie, and they're the main monsters that Kong fights against. And we get some backstory from John C. Reilly's character Marlowe about the Skull Walkers, how they've killed all the rest of Kong's people, and how Kong is the last. And this movie does a really good job of showing, that Kong is huge, and that was going to be a big question about, is Kong going to be big enough to eventually take on Godzilla? Because from the Godzilla movie, we remember that Godzilla is fucking huge, and Kong in this movie is fucking huge too. And there's even a line where Marlowe, John C. Reilly's character, says that Kong's not even done growing. So It's a good setup for Kong versus Godzilla, which we're not going to get for till I think 2020, because Kong still has another. No, excuse me. Godzilla still has another movie coming out, which is Godzilla King of Monsters. I think that's due to drop in 2018 or 2019, and then eventually we're going to get Kong versus Godzilla, I think, in 2020. But the movie is at its best when Kong is on screen, and he does get a lot of screen time. His fight with the Super Skull Walker towards the end of the movie is just outstanding. I mean, Kong kicks ass, and it's great to see on screen. Like I said, it's Kong's movie, and they don't disappoint. The standouts for me were John C. Reilly as Marlowe, and Corey Hawkins as Brooks. Hiddleston was okay. Brie Larson, I could have done without. Sam Jackson was basically pissed off Sam Jackson. It's not a, no big test. We've seen pissed off Sam Jackson before. Kind of, what's in your wallet, motherfucker? But it was a good popcorn movie. It was a fun time. It's not going to win any awards for anything, but God almighty, I need to buy a vowel. It was an entertaining time. So I'm going to recommend Kong Skull Island. I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10. So hope you enjoy it. All right. That's going to do it for this edition of May the Force Be With Who? Skong Skull Island. Skong. You'd think I'm drunk doing this. Kong Skull Island. All right. Until next time, I want to give a shout out to my brother-in-law, Brian Metz. Keep on keeping on. Get better. All right, everybody, I'm out. May the Force be with you.